red notice.
Purple notice.
You are on red notice.
That's not
Stamped.
good.
Did you see that?
I did see that.
Spoilers are coming your way on this episode. So if you haven't seen Red Notice on Netflix and in theaters,
I think it was limited.
Yeah,
for theaters. I think it was like a week or two.
It was a week for sure.
Yeah.
But
this is your red notice to watch the film before listening to this podcast.
No, listen to the podcast.
And then get spoiled.
And yeah. It's worth it.
We have a more fun take on it anyway.
How do you like your new chair?
I am loving it.
Yeah.
Although it spins, so it's only slightly distracting.
Yeah, it's kind of makes it fun, right? But
That's
boy,
right.
I gotta say my my tailbone and my lower back are gonna feel much better.
I
than
agree.
the dining chairs, right?
Yeah. When I was a kid at Culver's, they had the bouncy, they had the cushion seats.
Yeah,
and so as a kid, I would always bounce up and down, up and down. So that's how I kind of feel with these chairs. Like I'm ready to just book it off.
Right. Gives you that energy.
That's right.
Brings the energy to the podcast to talk about this cast. How I was watching this and I'm thinking, well, I thought this afterwards. I shouldn't say it during. I was thinking this afterwards. How does Netflix put something together like this? All of the streaming services seem to be able to get these A-list actors. I mean, they are turning up the dial.
It's insane. This was the biggest budget of Netflix for a movie ever.
So, but here's the thing that I'm confused on. Maybe you can help me. Universal Studios was the original for this.
Okay.
So did Universal back out altogether? Or did Universal put the movie together and then Netflix came in and said, we'll stream it for X amount of dollars? Or what happened there?
That would seem odd.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I looked it up, and what it says here is originally planned for release by Universal Pictures.
Right.
And I saw that on Wikipedia and IMDb, yeah, whatever it is. I don't know. My mind just went blank. Yeah, the one letters place.
That's right.
And they both said similar things, but it said the film was acquired by Netflix for distribution.
That seems. I don't remember even seeing a Universal thing at the beginning.
No, I don't either. I didn't go back and look.
No, I didn't either. Well, I didn't really know Universal part of it till now.
Yeah,
but you'd think if it was just streaming rights, Universal would still be at the beginning of it. But it was the Netflix stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe they purchased it for a lot.
Right.
And Universal's like, I really don't want. Which is a weird scenario if they've already got a good chunk of the film. Like, I actually don't want to fully invest in this. Let's just sell it to Netflix, and Netflix finishes it.
Right. So I mean, maybe as time goes on, we'll learn more about what happened here. I couldn't find a lot. But I'm wondering, did Universal okay the script and purchase the script, or, the screen? How far did it go? Whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. But I was thinking about that after the film, and that's why I looked it up. I'm like, this is huge for Netflix.
It is.
I mean, wow. Was it like a $200 million budget? I wrote it down.
That's what I had was $200 million.
Yeah. Box office. Did you see what the box office did when it was in this?
No, I forgot that it was
estimated $2 million, $200 million budget.
Oh my gosh, that's like 0.1%.
Yeah,
they're almost making it back.
Almost. So I got a good laugh out of that one.
But again, that's weird because just the owner rights of why would Netflix even how much of a cut are they getting from movies when they typically are just everything's focused on the streaming side?
I was thinking about that a little bit too, and I wonder, does it have? I mean, I have no idea. This is just conversation, thoughts. What happened here was, what it looks like to me is like, okay, we're gonna test it, but we're gonna make sure that it fails.
Yeah,
test it in theaters, but we're gonna make sure it fails because we're gonna release it November 5th for theaters, but then put it out on Netflix on the 12th, a week later.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like they're setting it up to fail in theaters.
But, I mean, there wasn't a ton of movies coming out the 5th or 12th. So, I mean, time, like, when you look at the release window, it wasn't a terrible time, besides the fact that, you can watch this for free in a week.
Yes.
Or by free if you have a Netflix subscription.
Right, yeah, the subscription price, but...
Fees and terms may apply.
Correct. But the podcast is free, so
That's
thanks
right.
for listening. Thanks for watching.
Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat, and so much more. Matty's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
Wait. Matt Logan!
Yes, we both had the same problem. You.
Listen. You smell something?
Yippee-ki-yay. This is Tyler Peterson.
So anyway, I guess I'm getting a little bit off base, but it's very interesting to me just as a lay person, I guess, neither of us are in the film industry in any fashion.
Nope.
We're just two dudes that like movies, and it's fun to talk about and hopefully fun for people to listen. But these are intriguing things behind the scenes that, like, for me, keeps me interested, I guess.
Yeah.
In the whole industry.
Maybe it was all for the publicity.
Could be.
We're releasing in theaters. But we're also releasing on Netflix. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what HBO Max is doing right now.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It is weird. It to me is like setting one of the two up to fail.
Yeah.
You don't if it's gonna be out a week or two in theaters only, I'll wait a week or two.
Yeah.
I'll watch it at home. I have a good system.
Right.
You can pause it. Oh, what did they say?
That's right. Let's take this back a few.
But anyway, what did you think? I've been doing all the talking, which is normal.
Just the wise man.
Oh, wise what? Donkey?
Man, of course. It was, you got the three. You got three.
I got to put this in here, Tyler. That was pretty good when you sent me that text.
Yeah.
Remember?
I forget the full context.
Basically, Tyler called me a wise donkey very, very politically correctly. It was pretty fun. So I text him back. I'm like, "Do you mean wise donkey?" He's like, "Yeah."
I'm not as subtle as I like to think.
Right? It wasn't in a negative way. It was in a fun way, but it was still funny. Anyway, go ahead.
I thought it was an interesting film. The intro I did not like. The voice seemed like it was if you have someone, what is it? I felt like when you have like script read to you of like a computer and it sounds very automated, and I mean you can understand what they're saying and there's not a lot of issues with it, but it was not very engaging when they were trying to build up the story of the three Cleopatra eggs. Compared to mid-film, Ryan Reynolds talks about more history, and I was like, why didn't they just do that at the beginning? Because that would have sounded a whole lot better than what it actually started with.
I agree. I think they should have come in and done even a post-production.
Yeah.
Like they did all the editing and, wait a minute, that beginning doesn't make sense. Let's hire Ryan to come in and actually do the narration part of it.
And I mean, he's already in the film.
Exactly.
Why don't you just have him?
It was very clunky.
So I thought that was weird. Fun fact, nobody died in this film? Like, I thought that was weird.
I didn't know that for sure, but yeah, I was in the... I thought about it towards the end of the film. Spoiler. In the convertible.
Yeah.
And they're shooting at each other.
Yeah.
And, Booth, Ryan Reynolds' character, Booth, says, aren't you on the same team or something like that? I'm not saying it verbatim, but...
Right.
And he's like, yeah, but they shot at me first. But it was really obvious in that scene that there was no death.
Yeah.
But I didn't really realize that in the whole film, honestly.
I think I do some research beforehand. I think I read that beforehand. And so I was actually keeping an eye on it. And I was like, yeah, no one is dying. And in some parts, it was very weird that nobody was dying.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, unless they're shooting blanks or rubber bullets, it's like stormtroopers. Like, they can't hit anybody.
Right.
Nobody dies.
That's true. Yeah, except for in the well, let's not get into that. But they had those, super stormtroopers in one of the last films. But yeah, no, exactly. it was something. But I didn't really realize that. I did think about it in that scene, but I didn't really realize that it actually was a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now a quick break from the podcast because listening sometimes just gets draining, just like water drains down a sink. Okay.
I really like Ryan Reynolds' character in this film. I like the sarcastic, witty, goofball characters. So I really enjoyed a lot of what he had to say and the quick wit that he had, and kind of the nonchalantness of some of the stuff that he was doing. I mean, some of those intense scenes where he's just like, "Oh, no big deal. I'm just doing whatever." And I didn't like that. And Dwayne Johnson's character, Hartley, I struggled with because his character seems a little too stiff at times.
Yeah.
Alongside, there were some parts where he was quirky, but the situation didn't make sense.
And it wasn't consistent.
No.
It almost seemed to me like there was different writers for his character or something.
Because I remember when Booth is telling his story about his dad being very serious, and then, Hartley's character starts snoring.
Right.
It would have been made more sense if it was in reverse, where it was Booth's character deciding to snore, because that was up to that point his character. But when Hartley did, it was like, this guy's been straight as an arrow this whole time, all business. And then the one time when Booth's character gets serious and wants to have the conversation, he's like, never mind.
Right. So the director, Rawson Marshall Thurber. Again, I'm terrible with names.
That's an intense name.
It is. I know. It seems like that's a fighting name, right? I mean, that would be like some sort of martial arts type. Don't mess with him.
I can see fighter, or I could see some sort of royalty. Sir Rawson Marshall Thurber III.
Right.
But it'll also make a great fight name.
Yeah, that's what I think of. I don't know, and I don't even.
This
like
man
to watch,
is raw.
Right. I don't even like to watch MMA or boxing or anything, but that's what I think of when I read his name. But he had a cameo in it. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. So he was. It says the note I wrote here that when I looked it up, he's the exhausted film director in the bar.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at it, but see, so you read about the movie before you watch it.
Sometimes.
It sounds like. I mean, you've said that a couple times. So I do the very best I can to go into a film without knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know anything about it if possible.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I'll watch a trailer at most, but...
Yeah. The ones that scroll on your Twitter feed all the time.
Yes. And so it's like, so I go into it not knowing. So then I go back and research and read and sometimes watch some different clips behind the scenes if they have them or whatever, just to get more nuance to it. And then as I'm reading about the film, it's like, yeah, he had a cameo in it. He's the exhausted film director in the bar. I'm like, what? I don't remember that.
Right. That's the balance that I try to it's either I'm going to watch the film twice to really catch everything, or I do some research beforehand, like the stuff like no dying. Like I don't know how I manage it, but I can typically stay away from major plot points and just get more of the minute details of the things that nobody else is going to catch.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll look up Easter eggs.
Right.
And so then by looking at the Easter egg, it doesn't necessarily tell you plot points most of the time. Unless probably if you watch something like The Sixth Sense where the whole thing's a dream and I look up Easter eggs, I'm like, well, this kind of ruins some things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for an action film like Red Notice, there's usually not too much of a intense plot.
No, however, they did a really nice job with it to set it up for a sequel.
Yeah, they did.
And did you read about that?
I didn't read about the sequel.
It's in. It's
is it
going.
already in?
It's going to. They're filming back to back.
That's commitment.
Yeah. So apparently they're pretty convinced that this is going to do really well. I don't know if I have.
I mean, the actors are huge. It amazes me that they were able to. I mean, specifically Ryan Reynolds, he can do absolutely anything right now, and people love it.
Yeah.
And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just seems to be in absolutely everything.
Yeah. He looks tired though in this.
Yeah,
I thought
he's doing a lot.
I mean, you can see. To me, I don't know. I might be a head thing to me. You know, he's doing a lot, so you think he looks tired. But I thought he looked tired. I don't think he looked as big in this film as he does in a lot of them recently.
Right.
I think that his face looks more just tired.
Yeah. Well, I feel like most actors, they'll go on a stretch where they'll maybe have 2 or 3 movies in a year and a half, but then there's a break before they do the next stretch of films. But Dwayne Johnson just seems like every year there's at least 2 or 3 films that he is in. And that, I mean, I think he was from Fast and Furious 9. It sounds like there were some struggles with him personally with that film. So I'm wondering if that even is just kind of pouring over on top of just not stopping.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I don't know. So hopefully, I guess, these 2 sequels, I wrote 2 sequels to be shot back to back. They're currently in development.
I read an interview. I think probably he was doing press stuff for this movie. But did you see his comments about James Bond?
No.
He was like, I would love to play the next James Bond.
Really?
Yeah.
Dwayne "The Rock"
Dwayne Johnson, muscle man himself, playing this.
Was he kidding?
No. So when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is a funny joke because he's in absolutely everything." So it was very believable.
James
yeah,
Bond,
that's right. And
yeah.
you go into it, it's like, "Oh, just kidding, we got you." But no, I was like, then I Googled it. I was like, Dwayne Johnson and James Bond. I saw like 2 or 3 or 4 articles about.
No way.
Yeah, he was like, my great uncle played some character in one of the older James Bonds. Sure. And so I really don't want to play a villain character. I would much rather just play James Bond himself, which I was like, do you understand?
I wonder if it was Top Hat in Goldfinger.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was.
What was his name, but yeah, okay.
But I was just mentally thinking of like, do you understand who the character of James Bond is and what you look like? And it's not that he looks bad, obviously, but
no, right.
James Bond is not, I want to muscle through everything. He's like, I want to work behind the scenes. I want to be a spy, a sleuth, because that's what James Bond is.
Yeah. And then when it comes to action, he's very precise, and, and gets the job done. But he's not a muscle man for sure. Interesting. I'll have to look that up.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. And I'm a pretty big James Bond fan. And did you see No Time to Die?
I did.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that here, but it was interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It shot some scenes.
We're getting off. Let's jump into scores. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about like.
This reminds me of the time you tried to drill a hole through your head. You remember that?
500 of the 1,000 movies I have on the shelf.
That's right. Well,
this is so much fun, though.
I mean, you look at it, Dwayne Johnson. If we just start talking about it, we could probably talk about 500 films.
Exactly. Yes.
But score. Where do you want to start?
let's go down the list on this one that we normally have. I like actor chemistry, filming locations, cinematography, costume design, music and score, overall entertainment, and then the overall rating of the film.
That's what I have listed down.
All right. Actor chemistry.
I gave it a 3.7.
Okay.
Again, you got these 3 A+ tier actors who have been in phenomenal films. I love Dwayne Johnson in something like Jumanji, where it's a really goofy character, but I mean he still has a stoicness as well. And this film, alongside Ryan Reynolds, felt like that pairing could have worked very well, but they left his character, and again, whether it was Dwayne Johnson being, I don't know if he was tired or something, but his character seemed super stiff and inconsistent. That caused issues between, working with the other actors on set. So I didn't necessarily like that. And Gal Gadot, she was a fun character.
Gadot. I don't know how you exactly pronounce it. I'm just messing with you. Me, of all people, trying to pronounce somebody's name, Tyler. You got to know I'm kidding when I try to correct.
The gal character in the film. That wasn't Das.
The bishop.
The bishop. I liked her character, and I thought there was a lot of potential. I thought she did well with Dwayne The Rock character, but then going the reverse, I thought there was some inconsistencies. Like, I like how she interacted with Hartley and Booth.
With Hartley, okay.
But I didn't necessarily always like how Hartley interacted with the bishop. And so I wish, again, I mean, it makes sense once you get to the end of the film and you realize there's that twist. But, with that twist, the chemistry during the film seemed odd, where it didn't really fully make sense they were together. Like, they were trying to show, like, oh, yeah, these two are going to end up together. But it was still awkward interactions at times, I felt.
And now, time for a quick break from the podcast. Aw, yeah. And now, back to the episode with your host, Matt Logan.
It's hard to be wrong sometimes, Tyler, but I get it. It's,
Are you talking about what you're about to say?
Yeah. I gave it a 4.6.
Okay.
And here's why. I completely understand what you're saying. I think, other than some of the inconsistencies of the Hartley character of The Rock, I think some of that was written in.
Yep.
Then that's why I think the chemistry was there, and because it was believable. I did watch about 30 minutes of it again today, just to am I remembering some of this? And so I think some of that was written in, where it was supposed to be like, okay, you're supposed to catch this.
Yep.
That there's something off here.
Okay.
Why is it off? Is he spoiler alert, is he supposed to actually be an FBI agent, or is he not? And I think some of those things were like the dance scene.
Yeah.
That was odd.
Right.
Why would the FBI agent try to dance with the villain, the bishop? And so I think some of that, the chemistry of that doesn't make it didn't look right, but it kind of, the way the film ends is like, aha.
There's a reason.
Yeah. So that's why I scored it high, is because I think some of that stuff was written in on purpose.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I could be very wrong, but I think...
Well, you started with saying it's hard to admit you're wrong.
Yes.
And
I might be. But that's the why that I have with it.
That makes sense.
I think some of it was written in that way.
All right, let's look at the locations.
I'm going to go first.
Go for it.
I enjoyed the locations being so many different places.
Yep.
And I think that they visually made it look great.
Did you like the Coliseum?
Yeah.
The CGI was a little hard for me to digest on that one.
Yeah. But that's not the locations.
Right.
That, so I've said that before, I try to take that out of it. that's part of cinematography or
Yep.
whatever I would call that. But as far as the location would be, yes, that was cool. The only thing I didn't really believe, I mean, there's the CGI stuff there, but the one thing I didn't believe full hook, line, and sinker was the pool at the end. They dive off with the car.
Oh yeah.
And that just seemed, that was not just, no.
Didn't settle well.
It didn't, but it was still a cool location.
Yep.
But so I gave it a 4.5 for filming locations because they did travel around. The boat was great, you know, at the end. I'm still wondering, you know, where did they go?
Right.
But at any rate,
yeah, I like the locations as well. Each place seemed unique. I did some research. I usually just do IMDb trivia because it has a nice slew of interesting facts. But the coordinates that was listed for Argentina, when they get to the Argentina scene, fun fact, that area is actually really flat and is not forested at all.
Sure.
So, again, I typically don't pay attention or really care because I more care about like the filming. Like I care more about what it looks like, not necessarily the authenticity, especially when it's a film more of like this is
when it's not like a historical. Yeah. It's not. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I thought the Coliseum, whether it was cinematography or not, the CGI really threw me off.
Yeah.
Of it did not look real.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't the location, but when he gets hit by the bull, I was like, remember in Ghostbusters that we reviewed in a 1984 film where that little dog is running around? It looks absolutely silly. I was like, could you really not do any better than that bull just knocking him off?
Right.
That being said, I really did like some locations.
You're talking about the Coliseum. I gotta say, I've been to the Coliseum in Rome.
Okay. Was that Rome or was it Spain?
No, in Rome. No, myself.
Oh.
I've been to the Coliseum, you know, the Coliseum. Like
the one that's
famous.
Iconic.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. But
yeah.
So that was cool for me too, you know.
Be able to see that connection.
So
was that Rome?
I don't think so.
I wasn't sure. I was like
I think that was
Spain. Probably Spain.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry, I do that. You gotta bring your A game with me, man. I throw everybody.
Of like, let's talk about this separate location that's not actually the one we're talking.
Get you back on track. That focus.
Oh my gosh! I just got hit by a bull that didn't see him.
I'm all over the place. But hey, I like to throw that stuff in there because we're trying to be real people.
Yeah.
And that's a real experience, you know, the Coliseum. And it's really cool.
It absolutely is. It's on my bucket list, so I'm hoping to get out there.
You need to make sure some of those things happen.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like that stuff's huge. You'll never forget it.
No.
Yeah.
I know. And high school, I was going to be when I went to college first, I wanted to do education. I was thinking about social studies because I love the historical side of things because it's so relevant of who we are today.
Yeah.
But that being said, I like Ryan Reynolds' house.
For sure.
Be able to go in, and then they did the classic Hartley's character turned on the lamp. So I thought that was really funny.
Right, exactly. I mean that was back in the 30s and stuff. They were in the black and white days.
Right.
They did that kind of stuff. That was cool.
Which is another thing I really did enjoy about this film. It did a lot of throwback references. We're going to probably talk about it more when I talk about overall entertainment.
Yeah.
The way they blended some of the stereotypes in the genre into comedy.
Yeah.
But I also, again, we are on a train that's going very not straight.
We're at the depot, and we've got all kinds of different tracks to try.
The train is, like, I think of Thomas. Thomas the Train, where you see the little track that
Yeah.
keeps spinning, where it doesn't really know which track it wants to go down.
Right.
We're keeping our options available. I like the prison place as well, on top of the mountain and
Yes.
only accessible by a helicopter. And then, the stone escape scene that they did, where it was very intentional of how that was done. So I gave it a 4.4. Again, if we're going off of authenticity, the Argentina one threw me off. They could have. I don't know why they didn't do real.
I thought about that. I thought about, is this like when they had those coordinates? I'm like, is that a real location?
It's
But
a real
that's
location.
That's as far as my thought went.
But it's not accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I have not been there. But what Google tells me and never fails me at is saying they were wrong.
Right. Cinematography, the big word.
How those shots
Explain
were
the
shot.
cinematography for us.
Cinematography. So it's how the shots are able to capture the moments, I think. And so how is the scene being able, are they doing close-ups? Are they doing pan shots? Are they CGI? Like how does it look in comparison of what the story is trying to tell?
Yeah, I love it. Go.
Which is much. So I gave it a 3.3. I struggled. There was some CGI stuff that just threw me off a few times. Specifically, again, that Coliseum just threw me off. I normally like it. And then the waterfall where they're, going out, or they drive the old, I forget, a very fancy, I know nothing about cars, but it was a fancy Nazi car.
Yeah, Mercedes, I believe.
Yeah, bulletproof.
Bulletproof, yeah. I mean, I think probably partially explosion proof as well.
Well, it had to be, because that thing got shot multiple times. And if
Yeah.
it wasn't going to explode from that, I don't know what's going to cause that thing to explode.
Yeah.
And so, for me, this one...
Well, and let's talk about cinematography as far as in the sense of, I think I had in my notes here the budget. The budget was $200 million.
So they had money.
Yeah.
In comparison, you think about movies that release, big screen, and that's their goal, is to encapsulate you on a big screen.
Yep.
That's a decent amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And, typically most people are going to watch...
20 years ago, that was unheard of.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, that didn't happen.
Yeah. And most people are going to watch this from their house. And I would say most people, they're not watching it off of a projector where they have a big screen to watch it off of. So it wasn't like they even had to focus on a ton of the details.
Right.
Where you would have to worry about that if it's being projected everywhere where each detail can be seen.
Yeah.
And so there was this parts where I wish they would have, focused a little bit more on that. The beginning car scene where they're pulling up, I thought that looked very fake, and I didn't understand why that looked fake, but I didn't believe it. And there were some scenes that were just too dark, which might have worked better in theaters. But again, this was a Netflix release where most people are going to be watching this off of a TV. And so I did like the end scene, or one of the scenes where they did the reflection of, I think it was the Louvre. I haven't been there, but I'm assuming that's what it was.
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
I always like reflections.
I'm not positive either, but...
reflection shots that kind of then build of what you're going to be seeing next.
Yeah.
Those are really cool. That was my favorite shot of this whole movie, so I noted that down for cinematography. But other than that, most of it was not bad. This movie focused more on comedy and kind of the action sequences, but there was just too many of those CGI scenes that just threw me off, that I wish they would have done better.
Again, I don't know. You're wrong on the score. I'm sorry. But 2.9 is what I had. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm teasing you, obviously. But
are you about to give this another 4.6?
No. So the actor chemistry, I guess to me that is definitely something where it's hard to tell if some of that's written in or not.
Right.
You don't really know. but I mean, I think some of it was just based off of the characters. But the cinematography, that's something that you basically you either get it or you don't. Yeah. And I wasn't really happy. I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
I have no doubt I'll watch it again.
Yep.
But
you gotta get prepared for when the sequels come out. You gotta make sure you understand where the basis is from.
Exactly. And depending upon how long before they come out, I gotta watch it again.
That's right.
Exactly. So the thing for me on it was, the bull, and that was like, I mean, you've talked a lot about it already, so I don't need to, but that was crazy. The pool that I talked about as far as the location. The location, the way they made that location was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the way it was captured on film, on the screen was like, I'm sorry, but I just didn't care for it. There were some dark, when they were stealing the second egg, was it?
Yes, the one at the guy's house, the Sotto Voce.
Yeah, Sotto Voce. I thought that was terrible.
Yeah. There were some scenes where they really could have set it up for something so much better, where they had the red lights in the background. Again, I like Star Wars, and I remember fight scenes with you got the red, deep reds, and you just see the silhouettes. And that stuff is really cool.
For sure.
But
this wasn't silhouette.
They didn't do that.
No. They had an opportunity there to really knock it out of the park, I thought.
Yep.
And they didn't. It was a fun scene.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
Right.
But the way it was captured, I didn't like it. So yeah, that's why the 2.9 of some of those things.
I wonder if it would have almost been more helpful for them to have less locations and really focus on building those sets up.
Yeah.
And maybe had more scenes there, rather than we're going to all these different places that, because there's so many, we just can't make them all look realistic.
I agree 100%, because they had to spend a lot of money on all those locations.
Yeah.
No question. But I did love that about it too.
Yes.
I mean, I really did.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes, absolutely. So let's move on to costume design. Red dress. There
was one.
I know it.
Just for you. I sent an email to Mr. Thurber and saying, it's really going to bump up the ratings on this one. Let's put Gal Gadot in a nice red dress. 5.0.
Right? I was like, as soon as that scene came on, I'm like, red dress, yes.
Movie's over.
Let me just pause it here for a while.
That's right.
No, it was good because they did the costumes fit where they were every time. I liked that.
The prison where they were in a huge mountain and they were just in their onesies.
Right, but it fit the film, I should say.
Okay.
It fit, their costumes fit the film, because it was much more focused on comedy.
Yes.
So I saw the comedy in the costumes too. So it fit the way not the locations, but it fit the film.
Yes.
Because that was funny.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was funny. I mean, you're not gonna.
Here's where I was coming from. Is I had just stepped outside and it was super windy, and I'm like,
right, you would
don't have enough clothes on right now.
No, you would never ever be in a prison on a mountain like that in the cold, dressed that way.
Faces weren't red, they weren't
exactly.
shivering.
Yeah. So it was like that. That was a laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was on purpose. There was no way they didn't do that on purpose. I think that's true. I don't know. It could go either way on that one. I mean, that was almost like writing a script, for lines. Like,
that's true.
We're gonna this costume because this is gonna be funny. Like, there's no way.
Here's where if it was for comedy's purpose, they should have played off of it. Like, I could have seen Booth's character making some sly comments of like, so did you bring the hats or something like that?
Yeah. No, that's a good point too, I guess. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I gave it a 4.1 just because I thought that it fit the film.
Yep.
Not the locations they were, but I felt like it fit the film. Especially like Hartley's character and the way he was dressed initially was like, okay, yeah, that's believable.
Right.
This is a desk cop, an analyst.
That's what they want you to believe.
Right.
At least.
So now he's out in the field.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be like, I'm this field agent with this, nice leather coat. And
yeah.
And that was like part of the act.
Right.
And so that was part of the costume. It fit the film, I felt.
Or where they were on the plane and he had the nice pink long sleeve on. It's like, is this all you have?
Right.
So with that was one thing so when I started the film, it wasn't started. So once they got the egg and Booth's character brought it back to his mansion, I really liked that Hawaiian, like just ridiculous T-shirt. I was like, this makes sense. It's like the reverse red dress of like, it's so ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah.
So I wish that made sense with his character very much so. And so I wish they would have had some more ridiculous costumes for Booth's character, because they started off that way of him like, this isn't your normal street clothes. At least not for me. I'm sure some people like wearing those clothes.
Well, I have. That's like my wardrobe. I have like different, a whole bunch of. No, it's not so. I wish.
I need the proof.
And now a quick break. And it's not a Kit Kat, sorry. And now back to the episode with your host, Matt Logan.
So I wish they would have done that more with his character. But yeah, you're right. In everyone else's character, I liked it. It fits with their personality very well. And we talked about, again, the prison place, just through whether it was comedy's sake or not. I wish, if it was for comedy's sake, I wish they would have played off of it more, or them to at least have a nice little hat, because they weren't affected by it at all.
No, I know. Yeah.
And if you're from like Texas or someplace warm, from Minnesota, I can tell you that is not realistic. I'll go, he is Canadian, so I guess.
Yeah, but is he really? I mean, at this
true.
point, he hasn't lived there for 20 years or whatever, right? Or more.
I don't know.
I think.
I want to say background check yet.
I think he came to the States, I think in the 90s, wasn't it? But
I would like to say it was late 90s. I could give you verification. Early 90s.
Sure.
It's a little fuzzy. So I gave costume design a 3.7.
Okay.
I wish there would have been, my two issues being, I wish Booth's character had some more ridiculous costumes, because I thought they started it so well with that. And again, that mountain scene, either play off of it being cold or get warmer clothes.
Yeah. And they did play off. That's a really good point. They did play off a lot of other things, so they should have done it with that as well. Score the score.
Score the score. There's nothing spectacular, I thought. Nothing super memorable. I did like when they were going.
I wrote down who the composer was.
Unless you pronounce it, if you have it.
Steve Jablonski.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that last name.
Yeah, I think that's how you say it. But did you look into him?
I did. I saw Transformers and Desperate Housewives.
You had to throw that in. You could have left it at Transformers. He was an intern. I believe it was an intern. I read Hans Zimmer.
Really?
He's got a school or whatever.
That doesn't surprise me.
And he interned there or something, and he's worked with Hans on another, and I don't see it here. I didn't write it down.
Hans could have a really good motto for a school or something like that. You could just play off of the Fonz.
Yeah. You should. That's funny.
Become the Hans.
Right. So yeah, I mean he's notable is what I'm saying. I mean he certainly he's been around a while. If he did like all of the Transformers.
Yeah.
So
which that was a nice series that ran one movie or two too long.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah.
But
anyway.
I liked the whistling that Booth's character did when he was going down to the Knots, where he did the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really good.
Yeah.
And because I sometimes have subtitles on because it'll allow you to catch things that you don't always see with your eyes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was one that was like, oh, Raiders. Oh, yes, that's what's going on right
Yeah.
now. It's like perfect. So I enjoyed that homage. But other than that, I mean, the score didn't do anything to take away from the film. I mean, I heard music. It wasn't something. But
No Death March.
no Death March. That would have been funny. So I gave it a 4.1. I wish there would have been, again, nothing was memorable, but again, it didn't take away from the film, and it kept you engaged in the parts that were meant to be engaging.
I score the music or the score a lot based off of did I notice it or not notice it. And I prefer not to notice it. I understand it's there, but I prefer not to notice it.
Yeah.
Just I'm different than you are. Obviously, you really enjoy. I mean, I really enjoy music, but when I'm in a film, I want it to just be there to enhance the scene. You notice it when it's not there.
Yep.
And you notice it when it's over the top.
Yep.
So if it's there and it's like, I knew it was there, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
I'll score it a lot higher then.
Right.
This one I gave a 3.9 because I dropped it a little bit because there was a couple of scenes and I didn't write a note on it. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't write a note on why, but I remember, there was a scene or two that the music got a little bit too loud for what was happening, I thought. But anyway, I can't remember the scene. So that's where I'm at with that.
That makes sense.
Overall entertainment.
I love sarcastic characters. So I really enjoyed Booth's character. I just love the quick wits and him be able to just like bash off any banter. But he did have his serious moments too. And so it wasn't just like he was constantly joking around. Like you kind of understood where some of his personality came from when he was being serious, which I thought was cool that they just didn't completely like, nope, we're just going to make this guy a goofy character and not have any growth or any character development. They actually did dive into that alongside still being really funny, which I enjoyed. The ending felt like something of like a between National Treasure and or like Indiana Jones of like, I mean, I definitely think when they got to the warehouse, like that is, Area 51 from Indiana Jones.
That's, and there's that Sci-Fi, I think it was on Sci-Fi. I watched maybe an episode or two when it was on, but Warehouse 13.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was called. But Indiana Jones, National Treasure, you could probably come up with a couple others. Yeah, I'm like, this isn't original.
No.
But
again, it really seemed to like just, we're going to full, like, when I was first watching, I was like, oh, this is different. Like the prison, the Coliseum. Like, I mean, action films are just going to naturally have those places. But then when we got to Argentina, it's like, nope, now we're just going full into these
the Nazi thing. And, I mean,
I didn't fully understand that. So I wish it was a mix where I enjoyed the references, but sometimes they dove into it a little too much. Because a lot of the other stuff, I mean, was more more for an original. I thought it was. You
like
couldn't tell they
believable.
were going off of one specific movie or something like that.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I give it a 4.2. I could definitely watch this again. The humor, the action, kept me engaged. So that's what I gave it.
I'm going to roll right in hard on this one and say I gave it a 4.7.
Oh, really?
Because I saw, there's a ton of balance in this film, I thought.
Yeah.
For me.
Yep.
Like there was good action scenes. There was good comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge, like, full-blown comedy person. So I like the balance. I mean, I really like the balance.
Yeah.
So it was very entertaining for me.
Yeah.
And some people would be like, there's too much comedy and, not enough action or vice versa or whatever. It's all personal preference. When you're looking at overall entertainment, to me, this is a personal preference.
That's right. Whenever we get to a horror film, Let's just drop those scores.
Right. 1.1.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be a little better and not a horror film.
So that's why I was there. It just had really good balance for me.
Yeah, and for this film, my dad showed me the trailer. I was with my parents about a month or two ago, and he showed me the trailer of Red Notice. I was like, I've not heard about this at all.
Yeah.
And I have such a hard time balancing all the streaming services of like, should I have this streaming service? Should I not? Am I watching enough from this streaming service to actually make it worthwhile? And so like I had dropped off Netflix for a little bit because I like Hulu a lot.
Okay. I don't have Hulu.
Hulu and HBO Max are the two that I've really enjoyed, and sometimes Disney Plus when Star Wars things come out. Or Marvel. Both are great for that. But so I had taken a break from Netflix, and so I
makes sense.
Didn't know much about it. And so when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, it has Ryan Reynolds, it has Dwayne Johnson, it has Gal Gadot. I love all of these actors, and it's a comedy action film. So I was pleasantly surprised, and maybe there was more advertisement. I think it's somewhat harder for some of the streaming services to like, how do they market when everyone's streaming, and it's not like Hulu's going to be advertising Netflix's movies.
Well, they could. I mean, if Netflix wants to pay.
Do you think Hulu would pay for an ad for an opposing streaming service?
I mean, that's a good point, but yeah, I think so. I think they're all in it together anyway, dude.
Well, here's what I know.
In a sense,
Hulu has Disney Plus too, so I mean, that's a Disney train going up.
Right.
I don't know much about Netflix or HBO except HBO and Warner Brothers. They're paired together. So I would have a hard time believing that
money's money.
Money is,
I mean, that's.
But
look at it this way. Do you ever listen to the radio stations?
No.
Okay. Don't look at it this way then. The radio stations, they have advertisements on there for like podcasts like this. Like they would advertise podcasts, even though they have talk radio mornings, or you know what I mean? And so that's the way I would look at it. I'm like, money's money. Their ads are their ads. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I could see that argument, but I would have it.
I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I see it in radio.
Either way, I think it's very hard. Again, I guess I have all mine. I pay without ads because I just get annoyed by ads, and luckily I can pay for it to not have ads. So I don't actually see a lot of ads besides on YouTube. So I don't even know how. I mean, does Netflix even have an option without ads, or because they're all streaming?
It's all streamed.
I just think I think that's something that they're going to need to like. How do they market that stuff besides social media? I think social media is the way that they would need to advertise.
Yeah, no, that I agree, but
I didn't see anything. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This is great. I would love to see this movie." And so I got hooked back into Netflix. Okay,
so it worked then.
Well, my dad.
But essentially, even though it was your dad, it still worked.
Yeah,
they had this huge movie. I mean, you can't get bigger than this as far as names.
No, you
together.
Really can't.
I mean, unless you do like a Fast and Furious type movie, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You just don't get bigger names in this altogether.
No.
So they got you.
They did. They got me hooked.
Worked.
Line and sinker.
Are we ready to move on?
The overall, I give it a 4.0. I thought it was an enjoyable film. I would definitely watch it again. I think it'll be, now that they have sequels on the way, I think it'll be an interesting thing to see how big it can get, because I think they started off strong. So how is it sequel going to be good? Because that rarely happens.
They have an opportunity here for sure to do a whole franchise off of this.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to watch, because The Rock is a producer.
Yep.
On this, and I'm sure I wrote that down. Yeah, he's a producer on this. That's pretty. He's got
He's invested.
some real skin in the game.
Yeah,
and so he, Vin Diesel and Fast and the Furious, brilliant for him to do what he did at the beginning.
Right.
And I mean, the guy's a billionaire now because of it. And so, but what does Dwayne have in that respect?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah, he just shows up in movies.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he's
Right.
not talented. Don't misunderstand.
Yeah.
What I mean completely is like he doesn't have that investment into a franchise.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
So I'm wondering if this is it for him.
Yeah.
Is he going to really sink into this thing and
Because
make it a big franchise? You could.
I would love to hear the backstories of some of these. Like, they go into a little bit about their messed up childhoods and their dads and neglect and stuff like that. And so they could easily have, like, college years or high school years. Like, how did Booth become the best or second best, mattering on what character you're who's talking?
Yeah.
How did he become the master?
Yeah.
And like, what has he done to get all this stuff? Like, they talk about the girl in the red hats.
Yeah.
He stole that. You can make a movie off of that.
Right.
And you can do the same thing with Booth's character. I mean, obviously he's a double agent. So how did he and the Bishop's character get involved?
Right. You could go a lot of places. Like you could, some other sequels, obviously they already talked about this big score that they're going to do and what. Think of all the things that you could steal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they could go so high to
That's
steal
right.
this thing. Maybe a sequel could be like they're gonna steal a whole election.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not saying that as anything political, but like you could go a lot of places with this.
Because all their characters have different skill sets that could really do anything.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued by that. So I hope they can really lean into this and sink some money into it. But anyway, my overall rating came to a 4.4 on it. So worth seeing, for me. I'll watch it again for sure.
That's right. Get hooked back into Netflix if you got out of it.
That's right. That's right. Phenomenal balance in this film.
Yep. Yeah.
Close us out.
You did this to me last time, too.
I know.
If you like Indiana Jones, if you like National Treasure, well, let me tell you, get your computer out or your projector and watch Red Notice, now on Netflix.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
So it's done. It's done.